I don't care what people tell you, looks do matter, and here is why. So just to clear the air, of course, looks are not everything. I'm not going to be one of those black pillars to say that looks are the only thing that matters, personality is useless, and yeah, I'm not one of those people. But I will absolutely defend the fact that looks do matter, and they play an integral role in society and connections and making friends and even eventually finding your partner. I treat it like this. Looks is that initial hump that you have to get over. This is even more apparent on dating apps, but I will get into that later. The reason why looks matter is because it is surface level. It is what you see first. People talk about personality, but people do not get to see your personality first. What they get to see first is immediately what's in front of them, how you look. And a lot of people, when it comes to looks, they do focus on the wrong things entirely. There's many people that will just tell you to go to the gym, get some muscles, and get a nice body, and then you'll be fine. But this is not all that true. I say this very openly. If you get to a certain point and you take it a bit too far, as a guy, you will be attracting more men than women. Gaining huge muscles and having a big build, sure, it can be nice, but that's not what matters at the end. And plus, many people say they actually don't like that type of body. So the things that do matter the most are 100% your face and your hair. Face being the most important, of course. So when I started doing the whole focusing on my looks and stuff like that, I focused on my looks more as a coping mechanism because I had very terrible self-image. I hated the way I looked. I thought I was just awful and I needed to fix myself. So I pretty much forced a glow up, if anything. Now I am virtually unrecognizable. If people look hard enough, sure, they can see it, but people that used to know me for how I looked in high school, now when they look at me, they can't even recognize me. They don't even know who I am. And if anything, I think that's a good thing, because I really hated how I looked back then. But getting back on topic, the reason looks matter so much, it makes sense. It's seen as taking care of yourself. It's the idea that if you can take care of yourself, if you can take care of your looks, then you can take care of other things too. That is why pretty privilege is such a real concept. And it makes sense too. It could be the idea that if you're able to maintain good hygiene, good routines, a good lifestyle, then chances are you can maintain a very good role in a job. So it's possible that you can be hired more if you are more attractive. So then let's move to the dating scene. When it comes to dating, as I said, looks is that first hump that you need to overcome. You will have an exponentially easier time if you look more attractive, because personality is not going to be the first thing that's seen. I remember someone left a really good comment on one of my videos saying that they know plenty of people that they are not attractive, but they just have good charisma and good personality. Well, then I present this. Do you think it would be easier for them if they were more attractive? Case in point, looks do have a role. They do help. Of course, looks are not everything, as I said. Looks are going to be that initial barrier that you need to overcome, and then after that, then that's where the personality shows. And as I mentioned before, this is even more apparent, especially on dating apps, because on dating apps, you don't get to see the personality at all. You just get to swipe left or right purely based on appearance. So of course, a lot of it has to do with if you took good photos or not, but that's also just if you're attractive or not. That's why catfishing is so popular, because there's a lot of people that they don't like how they look, so they just use a picture that it looks better than how they really are, or it's just not them entirely. And I think another thing to be mentioned as well, you will hear it all the time from people that they want to say that personality is what matters, looks don't matter at all, just be yourself. The problem is that that's what they say. That's what they say, but that's not what actually happens. In practice, looks do have a very big role that people don't want to talk about, mainly because it is admittedly a very shallow thing to judge someone based off their appearance, but we do it without even thinking. We don't need to be thinking of, oh, let me judge this person based on how they look instead of their personality. It just happens. They could have been a really funny and kind person, but just because they didn't look that attractive, we could just dismiss them, and that's what happens a lot. And back to what that commenter said, you would have to compensate for the fact that you don't have the looks by trying to be funnier, having better charisma, which, don't get me wrong, all of that is good to have, but if you're not that attractive, you have to try harder in other aspects. And another thing to mention too, when it comes to looks, is completely subjective. Some people could think that you're attractive, or some people could think that you're ugly, even though you're just an average looking person. You're not exceptionally beautiful and you're not ugly at all. It's just that you look average. So when it comes to looks, looking above average can definitely help you out in the long run. And put it this way too, there's not a lot of people out there that really focus on their looks. Sure, they might do basic skincare and things like that, but putting in proper time and dedication into yourself and focusing on that kind of stuff, it'll put you ahead of probably a good 80 to 90% of the population. And already that's an advantage in itself. So in the end, looks do matter, but don't let it get to you too much, because that's what happened to me. So that's going to be it for this video, and until next time.